Good evening. Can I ask you also to move towards the center so we can become one big group, happy group? Yeah? Please, thank you. So I'm very happy to be here tonight. My name is Niki Christodoulou. I have been a life coach and an NLP coach for the last 5 years of my life, and I've been teaching English as a foreign language for the last 30 years of my life, and I love it. And notice I said I love it, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes. I want to start with a few questions. Actually, it's one question, but it addresses many different groups. Do we have any parents here tonight? Can you raise your hands if you are a parent? Great. Do we have any employers? Fantastic. Do we have any students or young people who are looking for a job or they want to change careers? Great. Any teachers? Yay. Okay. So I'm going to show you these 4 questions. The 5th one is for me, but it's actually the same question but addressing different groups. And I want you to answer it with 2 words, okay, in your mind. But I don't want it to be health, because we're going to assume that we've got our health, which is a big gift. All right? So here are the questions. Parents, what do you most want for your children? Remember the answer in your mind, 2 words. Employers, what do you most want for your employees? Teachers, what do you most want for your students? And of course, you, as an individual, what do you most want for yourself? The 5th question is my question, and I'll come back to it in a minute. But I'll keep it there because we're going to be dealing with that throughout this 20 minutes we're going to be together. So, who wants to share? What 2 words came to your mind when you saw the question, what do you most want for your children? Yes? Their well-being. And happiness, of course. Excellent. Someone else? Employers, teachers, parents? What? Yes? Okay, but it's got to be 2 words.
Develop skills.
Develop skills, okay. Anyone else wants to share? Yes? Sorry? Knowledge, that's 1 word. It's got to be 2. Sorry? Steps for the future, okay. Anybody else? Yes? Sorry? Creating?
Creative and happy.
Creative and happy, excellent. Okay, it seems that we have a very diverse group here, and when I say diverse, I mean the wealth, the richness, because what I believe and what I have found in my research is that there's a lot of neglect. We don't do it consciously, but it happens. We don't give human capital, human wealth, people, you, the attention it deserves, right? And this is why we are experiencing people who are not happy with their lives, with their work, with their relationships. So I want to tell you that how I know this, okay? 3 ways. First of all, I don't think I'm telling you anything new. In other words, I'm sure at some point in your life, at work, in the family, at school, you have experienced this feeling of not being appreciated, okay? Secondly, in my 30 years of teaching, I'm pretty close to my students and my children, and it is amazing how stressed young people are today. They feel it, they know it, they talk about it, which is very good for me. I think it's good that they talk about it if you listen, right? Okay, so the 3rd way I know this is the latest research in neuroscience that confirms how stressed young people are, and not just young people, everybody is, right? So let me show you. Did I do something here? Can we get rid of the slides on the side? Okay, here we go. The American Institute of Stress says that 75 to 90% of visits to doctors are stress-related. That's a huge number. The epidemic of the 80s, stress, is still the epidemic of the 21st century, especially related to our jobs. Some more statistics. 70% of the American workforce, according to Gallup, they are disengaged with their jobs. That means that people go to work, but they don't feel they are invested there, heart, mind, and soul, right? They are just like robots doing the thing. And this is costing American businesses $300 billion a year. I mean, the medical visits, the medicine that people take, et cetera, et cetera. More confirmation that 95% of all illness is due to stress. Take a look. Stanford Medical School, Harvard Medical School, right? The Mayo Clinic, et cetera, et cetera. So what does stress trigger? But before I go there, I want to also say that from my experience, we are stress junkies. With that, I mean is that we love to talk about stress. It's like, it's a false sense of self. I mean, we get together with our friends and we talk about how stressed we are. Even the phrase, I'm stressed, and in Greek, είμαι αγχωμένη, it's as if we're validating our existence, like we have more value when we say we are stressed because it shows and proves that we are being productive for some reason, when it's quite the opposite. So here's what stress triggers. Depression, right? And mood disorders. More specific information, more than 300 million people around the world are suffering from depression, and 20% of those are teenagers. So if you've got teenagers at home, you may think they're happy, but unless you sit down to have a dialogue with them, to listen to them, you won't know what's going on. More women are affected by it. It's the main cause of disability and disease, and sometimes it leads to suicide. What are the characteristics of a depressed individual? People who are depressed are sad. They don't spend enough time on task, so they're not productive, right? They have often low self-esteem. They sit in their corners. They don't sleep well. They don't eat well. They get tired, and they don't focus. And I see that, this inability to concentrate, I see that a lot with my students at the university. In Cyprus, depression is a mental illness, documented, huge phenomenon in the last few years, and the young people especially report that they are fearful and anxious for the future, and who can blame them, right? Where does all this lead to? Well, academic difficulties, if you're a student, and interpersonal difficulties. So people who are depressed and stressed, we can't relate to the other person, right? They have difficulty, like the other presenter earlier, right, Tassos, who was saying, you know, open up and go up to someone and talk to people, right? People are afraid. They stay within their shells. So here's the $1 million question. Why is this happening? Remember my question, the one I posed for myself, like what do schools teach? What does society teach us, actually, right? Well, I'm a teacher, and I'm not taking myself out of the equation. I'm part of the system. So we have been accustomed, we've been used to teaching literacy. For example, if you're a teacher, you want your students to read and write, math, thinking skills, because we have believed that this is what leads to success. However, it's interesting to flip the coin and see what schools don't teach. Schools don't teach creativity, they don't teach resilience, they don't teach passion, and they don't teach happiness. And there is a great need to teach these skills of creativity, resilience, passion, and happiness, because this is a different era in which we live. And young people need to be equipped for the needs of a new world, right? Life skills. So why teach them? Because your children and your students are not going to be in the same job forever. They're not going to be in the same place forever. They might lose their jobs at some point, right? I hope it doesn't happen. And they might feel and experience the confusion and uncertainty we have experienced at some point in our lives. This is why they need those 4 skills. So I want to refer to Sir Ken Robinson, who's a British author, speaker, and international advisor for matters in education that have to do with creativity and the arts. And I don't have time to go into detail, but I'll give you his definition. Creativity is the process of having original ideas that have value. And it would surprise you to know that 95% of people around the world, including everybody who's here, we have original ideas, but 95% of us never actually go through them. We don't carry through them, we just keep them in our minds. Maybe because of what other presenters said today, out of fear, hesitation, or you're thinking, oh, somebody else might steal my idea. Why teach creativity? Research shows that creative people, people who are allowed to express their creativity, are happier, they are more on task, they achieve academic success, they live longer. Don't you want your kids to live longer? Get sick less. They're more sociable, they are less self-centered and less hostile and more optimistic. And why is optimism important? Because it leads to the second skill, resilience, which makes you live longer. So what is resilience? Anyone? Can you give me the word that other presenters used a few minutes ago? They used a different word, but I used the word resilience. What does it mean if someone is resilient? Oh, great. The ability to find balance, and when you lose it, but what do you have to be in order to go back and find your balance? Right, and in order for you to see the possibility? Right, so people who do that are flexible people. So having flexible rather than fixed views about other people, and you say X, Y, and Z people are this way, right? And less fixed ideas about who we are. So it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight to practice these skills, to learn these skills, but it takes constant dedication to who you are and to what, putting yourself putting yourself first to positively adapt in any given situation. That brings us to passion. What is passion? Can you give me another word for passion? Is there something in your life that you passionately... Motivation, well, if you've got passion, that's your motivation to do something, yeah? Love, great love for something, right? And again, Sir Ken Robinson wrote a great book, Finding Your Element. So for me, having passion about music or, painting or talking to people or whatever, that's when you are in the zone. Think of a musician who plays the piano all day long and loses track of time, or an artist who is painting from morning until night and he doesn't know that the sun has set, right? That's what it means being in the zone. So if we're passionate, Robinson says, about what we have in life, what we want to do in life, more chance to persevere and pursue what we love. And this, in terms of students, because we're talking students, young people are the future generations. These are the people who are going to go into the workforce, right? They need to be told, they need to be mentored, that they have to look beyond the classroom and beyond the school in order to develop their passion for sports, in order to develop their passion for the performing arts, which for the most time up to now, we've been feeling like, oh my God, my son wants to become a professional soccer player. That's not a career, but it is. And my daughter wants to become an artist, but in my generation, a few decades ago, it was not the popular thing to do. So, I'm part of the system, I told you that, right? So I take responsibility for being a teacher and being part of it, but I envision a different kind of educational system, one that is custom-made to people's passions. Wouldn't that be great? So if we teach for creativity, resilience, and passion, that's what we get. How about that? What do you get? What's this? Happy people. Wouldn't that be nice to walk in the hallways of any organization and see people smiling because they're actually doing what they are passionately in love with to do? So why don't we see the big four, the creativity, the resilience, the passion, and the happiness, why don't we see them as gifts because we have been programmed to think, and I'm going to say a few things about programming, that geniuses and gifted people are born. They're either born or they don't exist. They cannot be developed, okay? And I beg to differ. As I said, I'm an NLP coach and a life coach, and this is the basic communication model in neurolinguistic programming. So I'm not going to spend too much time with it, but I'm going to give you an example that has to do with jobs, with careers. So we grow up, all of us, and up to the age of 7 or 8, we have certain values and beliefs that we have acquired from our families and our environment. So if I grew up in an environment that has taught me that when you go to the university, it's really great if you get a degree in medicine, in law, or in accounting. So maybe I have these beliefs inside of me, right? That's my beliefs and values. And when I meet someone, external event, I meet them and I say, what's your degree in? And they say, in dancing. What do you think happens internally in my head, internal representation? I am thinking, not good enough. I'm not doing it consciously, it's automatic, but it's against my beliefs and values, because if you're going to count for me, if you're going to be important for me, you've got to have that specific degree in accounting or law, right? Because it's more prestigious. So immediately, I internalize it based on my beliefs, and I develop an emotional state. State, wherever you see the word state, it means emotions. So I'm feeling not so much interested in that person. Even my body language may not be very welcoming. That's your physiology, okay? And you sort of go and hang out with people with the, fancy degrees, and ignore the others. I'm just giving you an example of programming. It's very subtle. It's there in our subconscious. We don't even know it exists unless you really dig into it. So we categorize and label people based on our programming. So I've touched that on number 1. I'm going to say a couple of things on negativity bias as well. These are 2 major programmings that we are carrying within. I don't have time to go into others. But do you know that our brain is addicted to negative talk and negative emotions? We are addicted to it simply because when we have a negative thought, right, we produce cortisol, which is a hormone, the primary stress hormone, which poisons your whole body. So you get addicted to it, just like you get addicted to nicotine or alcohol. And I may tell you 10 compliments. Oh, how nice you look today, beautiful dress, da-da-da-da-da-da. But I say one little thing about maybe your hair is not straight or whatever. Guess what's going to happen? The negativity bias, which is a programming, is going to go and focus on that one negative thing. This applies to the workforce because if employers are not trained to accept their employees for whatever wealth they're bringing with them to the job, if teachers don't see their students for the holistic beings that they are, and immediately they categorize or label people, that's why you get stress and depression among people, because people feel sad inside and they don't know how to deal with it. They feel rejected. So to counteract, research shows that to counteract one negative emotion, you need 3 times the amount of positive emotions. So here's how it goes. First, we have a thought. That thought, whatever it is, produces a certain emotion. So if I'm thinking of my past holiday, right, what emotion do you think I'm producing? Joy, happiness, right? And that creates a feeling in my body, because feelings are for the body what emotions are to the mind. And your body is your vehicle, is what you have to live and walk and move around on this planet. And it is something that you need to care about, because everything you think about affects your body. This is why you get people with migraines, people with ulcers, people with problems with their back. Everything that you think about and feel gets stored in this body. We do an excellent job ourselves destroying our health. And it's a cycle, right? And it goes 3 ways. First, you have a thought that creates an emotion and leads to behavior. So if I'm not feeling happy, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to go and hide in a corner. But if I'm feeling passionate and creative, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to go and collaborate. I'm going to go, what Tassos was saying earlier, hi, how are you doing? Go and meet people, be open, and see what happens, right? So, what do we need to do? Wayne Dyer used to say, you have to change the way you see things so that the things you look at change. So remember, first you have a negative thought that creates a negative emotion. You've got to notice it, talk to yourself and say, wait a minute, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling guilty right now. Understand why this emotion is there, talk to yourself, and then say, imagine what would happen if I don't stop it, because no one's going to stop it for you. You have to stop it. Guess what's going to happen if you don't cut it off? You get sick. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And then you end up with all sorts of health problems and you don't know where this came from. Awareness. So we're going to play a little game here. It's very important to recognize who we are. I'm putting myself in there as well. So who are you? Are you the blamer? Are you the kind of person who keeps saying, whatever happens, it's your fault? Are you the judge? Whatever happens, it's not fair. Are you the warrior? Oh my God, what's going to happen next? Are you the faulty? It's all my fault. Are you the loser? I'm useless. And the whatever guy or girl who says, does it look like I care? And you get that a lot with teenagers and younger generations. You may be one of them, or you may be all of them, or you may identify that you have 2 or 3 of these labels. And I don't mean to label people this way, but I want to help you understand that you've got this inner voice in your head all day long talking to you, telling you these kinds of phrases. And don't tell me that you've never said this to yourselves. Second step, go like this. Talk to yourself, mental dialogue. So if the inner voice says, I'm a loser or I'm useless, say to that voice, is it right or is it wrong? How did I come to that conclusion that I'm a loser? Why am I a loser? Why am I useless? Why am I telling myself these awful things, right? Thirdly, that would lead you to develop this fantastic skill of reframing. In NLP, we call it reframing, the ability to see an issue from different sides, from different angles. So, for example, you go for a job interview and you then don't get the job, right? Then you go home and you start, oh, I'm a loser. There's nothing I can do that right. They didn't like me, blah, 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 blah. What else can you do? You might go like this. Well, I gave it my best shot. Maybe I don't have what they're looking for, but maybe they don't have what I'm looking for either. And there's all sorts of other factors that did not allow me to get the job. And then look for something else. But you never give up, right? But if you stick to that old story that you've been telling yourself ever since you were a little boy or a little girl, and you don't get out of it, no one can get you out but yourself. And guess what? I learned that in my training when I was becoming a coach, that it's just a thought. Everything that you keep thinking, once you talk to yourself and you say, it's just a thought, it loses its power. And guess what? Almost all thoughts we have are wrong. Do you know why? Because my perception is just different from yours. Who's to say that you are right and I'm wrong, or that I'm right and you're wrong? Just different perceptions of reality. So, my friends, positivity is a skill that can be developed because the brain is a muscle. Just like you go to the gym and you train your body, train this muscle. One of the 2 most important muscles in your body is the brain and the heart. And that's what you need to do. How? 5 practical suggestions. Make a conscious decision, and I'm saying conscious, to only hang out around positive people. It is a conscious decision. It's not like, oh, people call you up and say, you know, you want to go out, and you know you don't feel like it. You know that you're not going to have a good time because you don't really enjoy the company of these people. You're not going to be rude to them, but you're just going to say no. Secondly, pursue your passions in this life. Life is short and you only live once. Don't wait around until you become 50 or 60 to say, oh, I wish I had become a musician. See and acknowledge the fact that despite hardships in your life, you are a survivor. You've been through stuff before, difficulties, disappointments, and you survived them. You know why I know this? Because you're sitting right here in front of me. Meditate. I don't mean it in a religious sense, but there is a huge amount of evidence and research of organizations like Google who has their employees to do a 10-minute meditation every morning before they start work. You can spend 5 minutes of the day in silence, can't you? You don't have to do anything except sit on a chair like you're sitting now and close your eyes and just don't focus on the outside reality, because that's what meditation is. We close our eyes because we want to turn within. If you do it consistently, I promise you that you will experience huge amount of energy in your body and in your mind. And remember Memento Mori. Do you know what this means in Latin? It means remember that we are mortal. Everybody's walking around thinking they're going to live forever, right? There's an excellent little video on YouTube. If you put Memento Mori, it's this guy, and he says it in Greek. It's like 2-3 minutes. That reminds us that we are here as passengers, you know, we're not going to here forever. So all this talk about positive thinking and all this, you know, what I'm going to say is that it is not something that, you know, if I know that you're having a hard time in your life, imagine if I come up to you and say, you know, oh, just think positively. It doesn't work that way, but it's important that you find the courage to get together with people who can show you another way to cope with the difficulties that you're facing, right? And if we teach the big four, remember what the big four are: creativity, resilience, passion, and happiness, our students will get depressed less, our children will get depressed less, and even if the depression reappears, it will be much lower and much quicker to go away. And in addition to that, employers, mentors, coaches, teachers, anybody who is in the business of influencing people, we need to teach people how not to be victim of circumstances. We're not victims, we are creators. So you really need to shift your thinking about this and take life in your own hands. Also, teach young generations to avoid social comparison. And of course, technology is great, and I'm all for it. But when you don't know where to draw a line, and you're on social media all the time, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, there is something called upward comparison and downward comparison. So you're looking at people who have this great life, you're comparing with upward people, what you think they're having, you know, as ideal life, or you look at people who are worse off than you and you feel happy, right? That is something that has been poisoning our younger generations. And make sure you identify those habits that you have, I don't know, for everybody's different, that slowly kill you. For example, change your story. Change the story that you're telling yourself all day long about what an unsuccessful person you are, or what, you know, how guilty you feel because blah, blah, blah. What does it take to be positive? This is Niki's formula. 2 P's and 1 C. Persistence, to who you are, to your passion. Patience, because it's not going to happen overnight. And commitment to the most important person in the world, which is you. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yes. Do we have a microphone? Oh, yeah, that'll be good. Thank you.
I'm Socrates. I'm a psychologist.
Hi, Socrates. I know you from somewhere. You look familiar. Anyway.
Yeah. Maybe. So yeah, I was thinking. I've read about NLP before. It's very useful, and I like it. It's very similar with cognitive behavioral therapy, especially the cognitive part. The thing that
Can you put the microphone closer to your mouth
yeah.
so everyone can hear? Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand from NLP is the so much focus in positivity and seeing negativity negatively.
Actually, it's quite the opposite.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not here to convince you to think positively. I'm here to tell you that everything in the world is emotion, energy. The E stands for energy, in motion. So, according to how, what kind of emotion you have, for example, there are a lot of people who are, you know, you see them and you know they're angry all the time, right? You don't know why, they don't even know why, but they're operating on that energy of anger, right? This is what creates your reality, the vibration on which you are operating all day long, right? So NLP has nothing to do with getting people to focus on positivity and, you know, avoid negativity, but it helps people take power, the power in your hands. And how do you do that? Because you're the only one who is in control of your thoughts. So imagine having or holding a sifter. You know how you sift a flour to make flourness, whatever, you know? Take your thoughts and sift through them and train your mind to do it slowly, slowly, and if you make a commitment to it, and change the focus so that you focus on what you want in life and not on what you don't want, right? Big, huge difference, because all day long, we talk about what we don't want. But if you make it a conscious effort to focus on what it is that you're doing now. For example, now I'm talking to you, I'm fully here. I am engaging, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat tonight, and this is what Eckhart Tolle is talking about in The Power of Now, in the book. You're washing dishes, your mind, if it goes away, right, like a monkey mind, bring it back and say, now I'm washing dishes. I'm going down the stairs, now I'm going down the stairs. It's all training this muscle, right? So I don't know, maybe from the things you read that you got that idea that has to do with positivity and negativity, has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so
my presentation was just this title, so I incorporated a couple of things from NLP in it just to expand it a bit more, but it was not on NLP.
You mentioned in focusing on positive aspects, though.
Yep.
So I wanted to stress how important it is to focus on negative aspects as well, because
focus on negative.
Yes.
Can you give us an example?
I can give you an example. Yes. So, for example, if someone is afraid of dogs.
Of dogs.
Of dogs.
Yeah, it's a phobia.
There is a phobia.
Yeah.
They will probably avoid the dogs.
Right.
So the phobia will stay there because they are confirming, by avoiding, they are confirming to their brains that the dog is dangerous to me. Okay. So in order to get rid of their phobia, they need to confront their the negative thoughts.
What you're saying is a bit different from what you said earlier. What you mean is like go out of your comfort zone to face your fears.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just. This is just one example.
Yeah.
Another example, because you mentioned the negatives from the past. So another example would be to focus on the learning aspect.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you because that's not accurate. I said.
You didn't,
no. I'm saying what I said from the training, the programming we received in an early age. I didn't say we received negativity.
I'm not saying that you said that.
Okay. I said that we have values.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify something that it's. I don't think it was clarified, but I don't think you said the opposite. I just think that you said something that it wasn't clear in that extent, I think, to the rest of the people. So I wanted to say that focusing to negative emotions is also important and to negative aspects, but we need to know when to focus to the positives and when to focus to the negatives.
I totally disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. What you focus on grows. Law of the universe. So the more I focus on the negative, the more negative I will get. So I don't agree at all that we should focus on the negative so that we can get learning lessons from it. As a matter of fact, the only moment I have is now. What is past is already done. Even like the sentence that came out of my mouth like 2 seconds ago, it's past. So why would I even look at that? And the future, I don't have it either. So you know why people are stressed and depressed? Because this body right here exists in the now, but my brain lives in the future. So I'm here now and I'm worrying about this exam that's going to come in 2 weeks from now, and the distance between my now and the future is what is creating the stress. So all I have as Niki, and all I've trained my brain, my muscle to do all day, every day, for the last 5 years, because that's when I woke up from my darkness, is to stay focused on the present.
Mm-hmm. There is Mr. Positive and Mr. Negative. Mr. Positive...
it's good,
no,
I like
actually
this.
Mr. Positive and Mr. Balanced, because he's not negative. So Mr. Positive starts a startup, okay, and they don't focus on failure, okay? They just focus on success.
Okay.
Mr. Balanced focuses both on success and failure. So when they fail, they know how to manage it.
Again, I disagree with you.
That's all right.
I don't know about you.
I just wanted it to come out for people to
I'll
think.
tell you something. I don't know about you guys, but
Yes.
like Haji Yanni says, I'll say it in Greek, δεν έχω χρόνο για άλλο πόνο. I don't have time. My time is valuable. I don't have time to focus on the negative. I don't. I just want to be in a position to create my reality, to create my future, to grab the opportunities, to go and do networking and interact with people that I don't know, and to put my fears aside, because that's when you get out of your comfort zone. And I go up to you and say, hello, my name is Niki, and you say, hello, I'm Socrates, what do you do? And we get to know each other. So when I want something new in my life, when I want to create something new, I don't focus on the past, because if I focus on the past, I get trapped in the energy of the past, and there is absolutely no way to move forward. And one last thing to say, and of course, you're welcome to ask me any questions afterwards. If you are focusing on the problem, there is absolutely no way that you will find the solution. Thank you again, and I'm available for any other people who may have questions. Nicolas?
From my understanding, NLP is not about how you're trying to only focus on the positive aspects and avoid the negatives. I think it's about trying to develop a survival thinking. For example, if there is a dog, as the previous guy said, and someone has a phobia about it, it's healthy to try to change, not focus on the negative phobia of the dog, but try to change how you perceive the dog.
Exactly.
What are the triggers that initiate the phobia? And if you try to change that the triggers, then you change the perception about the dog. This is my understanding about what NLP is. And of course, it's not about having a problem in front of you and saying, no, there is no problem there. I'm gonna pass over it. It's about changing the way you see the problem in a way that it helps you to resolve it easier. That's it.
You're very right.
That's how I perceive the NLP.
Yes, and it is a system that helps you cope, like you said. It's a survival mechanism. And when students come to me in my office to get help on their outlines or their essays, because I'm also teaching English, most of the time we talk about their issues. And it's such a great feeling for me to have somebody walk out of my office and say to me, you know, you just gave me one different way to look at this problem. You gave me another perspective that I'd never thought about before, and I wish that I had that when I was young, right? Because as I said, different generations, different demands, different workforce now that we need to be ready for, but these skills, and I really encourage you to go on YouTube and watch Sir Ken Robinson, watch his videos on creativity and passion, or read his books, because it takes, and this is my suggestion, if only some people with progressive minds could get together, put their ideas together, and create an educational system which will be based on people's natural talents and passions and interests. Because you get people who go to school and they're disengaged when they have to memorize all these chapters of history. It's like being a parrot. And when you don't give it back to the teacher the same way that it's written in the text and in the book, you get an F. That kills creativity, right? I mean, this is why we get university students and young professionals who are afraid to express their opinion. You ask them something, they don't have an opinion. No critical thinking there, because they're afraid. They have been taught to feel fear, to open their mouth and express their opinion. So thank you very much. I don't want to keep you any longer. If you want to have more questions, I'm here. Thank you.